Okay, welcome back to FitPro-X TV. Welcome back to another episode of FitPro-X TV. We're joined by a special guest today. He is a race coordinator, ex-athlete.
Harsh.
Okay.
We went there.
Assistant to the regional race director.
To the regional manager.
Assistant to the regional manager, race director. And my brother, Chris Parr. Welcome to the show. We've never done that before.
We've
never clapped for someone before.
Never.
No, listen, Chris, you have been obviously involved in, technically not like the fitness industry, but I think the fitness industry is growing now to the point where, you see a lot of like races, a lot of people are doing running now as part of their fitness. So, usually people were pretty dedicated to running. So you'd have a lot of people who would do running as their sport. And what we've seen in the recent years is a lot of people are picking up running and doing it as part of, the other training that they're doing. And there's a lot more kind of casual runners who are kind of wanting to compete and improve. Whereas before you'd have people who are competing to be a runner and people who are going on a jog. And now I feel like there's a lot more in the middle. So we just wanted to get you in to chat to you a little bit about what you do with Run Through. And how that's been for you so far.
Yeah, I think you're right in that running is becoming part of what you would class as the fitness industry, whereas running and athletics has come from an amateur sport background. So it's always been clubs and volunteers giving up the time to coach people and to put on events. But over a period of 30 or 40 years, that's became increasingly difficult. It's very hard to actually put an event on. It's very hard to put, especially something on the roads. It's incredibly difficult to get everything past all the authorities. So yes, what was the scene 30, 40 years ago just isn't now. And you find like a lot of club events, or a lot of clubs have been struggling for volunteers. Club events have moved into parks that were traditionally on the roads. They've then gone into obscurity or have had to stop in total. And then you've had a lot of people, like you said, have taken up running, especially through the whole social media boom of the last 15 or 20 years. People have gravitated towards people who they can see on Instagram that they can see some sort of familiarity with and then think, oh, well, I want to do that. There's a lot more now online coaching, or there's people who've gone through personal training who've then done running as part of that and then have continued on. Whereas, previously you would have had to go to your local club and
like a specific coach.
Yeah, exactly. Which was all been like a voluntary thing, and it's gradually changed over time. Now it's a bit of a blend where people can get a personal trainer type coach and get the individual one-on-one feedback without necessarily having to go to a club. There's just more of everything really. And
I've seen there was there's an app now, isn't it? I can't remember what the app's called, but there's few members in my gym using it, and it basically just like it goes through the process of getting you to a half marathon. Oh,
there's loads, isn't it? There was that Couch to 5K. There's the Runner app. There's like Nike have their own app as well for running. There's this like Strava and things. So there's a lot more, as technology's advanced, it's affected running, which obviously, it's always interesting to see, isn't it? Because running is something that humans have always done. So it's not something new. But it's just interesting to see the increase of technology, the social media playing its effects on it. I think lockdown was huge for running. A lot of people got into running in lockdown because there was nothing else to do. So it was it was a nice one for people to get involved with, and it's something that you can improve on, and it's something that anybody can do as well. So it's like,
yeah, it's a really accessible sport. All you really need is a pair of trainers. But a lot of people don't know where to start. So a lot of these apps have been brilliant to give people some sort of guide. And the great thing about running is everybody's got a PB. As soon as they've done one race, they've got a personal best, and everybody finishes. Doesn't matter what level you're at, they finish and they're like, yeah, you know what, that was good, but I could do something better here. And the better you get at the sport, you realize it's not just about training hard. You've actually got to not train hard all of the time, and that's something that people really struggle with. So say somebody wanted to do their first ever half marathon and they go, okay, well, I'll go out for a run, I'll do a mile, then I'll do 2 mile, then I'll do 3 mile, and they build it up and then they end up getting injured. And every time they go for a run, it's actually like a max effort. Like elite athletes don't train like that because you couldn't go out and do a max effort every day. Like historically, if I was getting up to doing like 60 or 70 miles a week, most people hearing that think that that's like some like massively daunting number. That must be like a crazy amount of training. But if I was doing 70 mile a week, I feel like that's easier than doing like 40 mile a week with 3 intense sessions on the track, for example. So if you build up and you do things sensibly and you train the right intensity at the right time, then you can get really fit. And it's not rocket science, but a lot of it is being guided and being held back. And that's traditionally where like a coach has came in. The apps are brilliant because it gives people some sort of structure. But then you do find that once people have gone through that process maybe once, they then do actually want a bit of guidance.
It can only take you so far because you know, just like anything, you can get a personal training plan. You can get a gym plan, which will get you out the door. You know, so watch some YouTube videos, which are going to tell you a couple of workouts that you can do to give you a taste that you might like that. But then I think there's nothing, the experience that a coach can give you, the experience that someone helping you one-to-one can give you, because they'll have seen so many people who are around your level and what it's going to take you to get to the slightly next level. And they can give you, you know, they can assess you. They can say how fatigued you look. They can say what looks right and what looks wrong with your technique. Because obviously, like anything, running, once you get better at it and once you've got past the point of just managing to get out and string 3 mile together, then it becomes technical and you can start looking at strength and conditioning. You can start looking at your actual technique. You can start looking at actually improving on your ability to run. Because although it sounds crazy, I mean, a video went viral on the top flight of the Kenyan guy in the gates in the Newcastle 10K, and it was just a video of him from the side running. And although it's, you know what people look like when they run, this guy looked like he was floating.
Yeah, so
like
about 20 million views on that image, and he did look like he was floating. Yeah, the best runners make it look easy.
His upper body wasn't moving. Yeah. No part is obviously his arms moving a little bit, but his upper body, like if you see people run, I always see people run. They're like, did we see people running the other day? And they were like bobbing up and down like that, like running.
Yeah, so some of them you look at them and you just think you might as well walk, mate.
Yeah.
You know what's frustrating though? Like, I've had like quite a long career as being a competitive athlete, and I've actually got not saying my style's brilliant, but I've actually got quite a well-trained style. It's like quite relaxed the whole time, and I've done all the strength and conditioning. And some people, even at elite level, have got like horrendous running forms, and I don't know how they're getting away with not getting injured, because I get injured doing.
How good do you know what form?
Yeah, well, fantastic.
Can you get better than that? Is there people who've got a better form than him, like sprinters?
Yeah, there will do. I guess there's a balance, isn't there? Because if you try to adjust somebody's natural gait too much, then it can have other impacts. Like your body's got like natural.
It's like basketball. They say you shouldn't change your shot after you turn 18. So like, or even 16. Like you don't want coaches messing with your shot after 16 because it's just about repetition at that point. Yeah, it's like if you're playing seriously, you might be getting up 500 shots a day. You know, that's too many. That's 150,000 shots a month.
But have you ever seen
shots a month?
Have you ever seen, like, you know,
I don't even know how much that is. 500 shots a day, 15,000 shots a month. Yeah, that's right.
It's a lot. Well, just go back to coaching though. Like in running, the difference with say like a normal personal training arrangement where it's either single person or small groups, you can get some of that in running. There's times where it might have just been me and my coach of the time doing something really specific, because I needed that real specific feedback, but I was more like at an elite level. The majority of benefit through with running coaching is that it's a group. So there's a huge camaraderie aspect to running, and that's with what I'm doing at the minute with like delivering big races. The camaraderie is what people like about the sport. So it doesn't matter it doesn't matter what level you're at, everybody's got the same start line and finish line in that race, and they've all got a similar journey of like how much discomfort they had during that race, and they all finish, and they've all had to take on the conditions. So you could finish alongside, like you could get your top person, you could get Joshua Cheptegei, best guy in the world, finishes, and then somebody who's done their first ever half marathon taking like 3.5, 4 hours, and they can both talk about that race with each other, and they'd be able to say, oh, you know, the wind at mile 7 was really, and then we hit that hill. They've had that like same journey, which you don't get in other sports really.
Yeah.
I think two things. I think it's interesting that you say, you know, you got to a high level in running. I always found running to be too lonely for me, especially when I was going out and doing like longer runs by myself, and doing all the running training, because obviously I trained for quite a few years to do running. I always found it gave me like too much time with my thoughts, and I didn't really like that. I didn't really like being alone with my thoughts for like an extended period of time.
Yeah, that's dangerous for someone like you.
Yeah, it was. But whereas like playing other sports, you don't get that because you're having to think all the time. Did you, obviously, you know, you've said there, out of your 70K weeks, 70 mile, 70 miles.
70 mile a week.
So what's that, like 100 kilometers? Maybe.
That,
yeah. So for 70 miles, whatever, weeks that you would do, how much of that's like by yourself?
To be fair, quite a lot. I mean, I did go at Loughborough Uni, so I trained in groups there, and we do group sessions. So I used to do group sessions at Gateshead Harriers. I do group sessions now with the LD crew at Jarrow. It is great. I go, even though I'm not fully fit at the minute, I like to go and still do the warm up and get involved in a little bit of the sessions, just for that camaraderie, because otherwise you're just out running on your own all the time, which is fine. There's some sort of people within run. I don't want to offend anybody. They say you've either got to be like really clever or really thick to be a distance runner, because you can either. I'm
relating this a lot to boxing, because as you've just said there, right? It's an individual sport, right? You go to sparring group sessions. You and the group are going through the same shit. You know, you're getting your head punched in essentially, and then at the end of it, you all, you know, have a laugh about getting your head punched in and the hell that you've just gone through. And some are pretty thick, some are pretty clever.
Well, yeah, it's like that thing. Like I know a guy. He does like really long runs. He'll do like 40 mile. I think to myself, like, I couldn't go and run for like 40 miles straight just by myself.
Yeah, like the super long ones have never been a thing for me, but yeah, you find that there's a lot of people who've gone through like university system, like really, really clever people that can overanalyze everything, they can think about. So even though run's a very simple sport, they can keep their mind occupied thinking about every single thing. And then you've got other people who are just sort of tough.
They just don't even
no nonsense, tough, get it done. So you find that there is like a big blend of like those two sides, and not as many in the middle.
Would you be like analysing it while you're running?
Yeah, probably like that. And a lot of people have got some sort of level. I don't want to say OCD because you've got to be very like obsessive and particular.
When your sport has obsessive. It has so little. It's very. No, this isn't disrespectful running. It's extremely one-dimensional. It's just running. Like obviously there's other sport like running with football. There's running, but then you're going to kick the ball as well, and you got to take note of what other people. There's other things as well. Whereas because running's so singular in its what you have to do, then everything becomes extremely analysed. Like when you're running as a footballer, you don't think about how high your knee lifts when you run. You don't think about the perfect knee height. You don't think about perfect arm positions because it's not. Maybe in
sprint you need to think about that. In endurance running, it is a bit more straightforward. You've got to do a huge amount of volume. I say huge. This is relative because there's one of the lads who I train with. We've got really similar PBs at 5K and 10K. And he's exceptional at the longer distances and cross country, and I could just never.
Do you think that's a mindset?
No, he's just built completely different for those things. Whereas at 1500 meters, I'd be like 15 seconds or something faster. So when it gets to 1 mile, I would naturally just be a lot better. And when it's like the longer distance or cross country, he's way better. But 5K, 10K were really evenly matched. But on average through the year, I know I said I would get up to say 70 mile week would be a max for me. But majority weeks, if I was going really well, I'd be in around about 50, 55 mile weeks. Whereas the guy I was training with, he does around about 120 mile a week every week, just absolutely plows it out. But it's just totally different strengths. If I did his training, I would break down really quickly. And if he did my training, it just wouldn't be as effective because he wouldn't have the same sort of engine. So there is a blend on that. And then also when you do get really fit and there are fine margins, the tactical element and the mental element is far greater than people who don't really know athletics as well. It's
like
far
fun
greater
runners.
than the